All right, let's see. What can LeBron's camp say now to try to shit on everybody else in order to make LeBron look better? I mean, you seriously want to talk about some clowns out here. Anyways, I'm not into feeding into narratives. I'm into talking hoops, and I saw the Miami Heat play, and I saw the peaks of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and LeBron, and all the stuff that happened over the last 20 years. And I want to discuss that in this video because as of right now, you have people in the media trying to change history. They're literally trying to lie to you and tell you that what you saw didn't actually happen. What you saw was not real life. You were living in some figment of your imagination, and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James did not form a big three. They did not form a super team. This shit is crazy. And we're just going to leave it at this. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing the rest of the Hall of Famers. They might get a mention, some of LeBron's teammates, but they're literally trying to change what actually happened in real life. Anyways, we got to start with what Rich Paul said in his interview or conversation with Pat McAfee, where he talks about how Chris Bosh specifically, and this whole Miami Heat thing wasn't a big three. But anyways, the recording, it's just like 1 minute. If you guys want to fast forward a minute, that's fine, but I'm going to play it. All right, let's do this.
I always love a big two. I don't really love a big three. I don't really. People talk big three, but the big three thing has never really worked. And you say, well, what happened in Miami? That wasn't really a big three. There was three guys that went in the lottery, and they did really well individually on their team. So they put up big numbers and had big accomplishments. But when you think about it, Bosh was the ultimate professional. He took a back seat, and he played a role in which, because he had such a high IQ and he was such a professional as an individual, his approach to everything is what made that work. When you look in Boston, okay, you can say Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce was a big three. Again,
Rondo.
Thinking about names, but the way that offense was ran, Rondo's capability during that time, it was a lot different. When you've seen people go for that, it never really worked. And I've had this conversation with several.
I'm just going to leave it at that. This shit is absurd. Guys, like, I really don't have to convince people. I think people have common sense. But Dwayne Wade, we'll just start with Dwayne Wade, and I'm going to come back to Bosh. Dwayne Wade was an NBA Finals MVP in 2006. That season, he averaged 27, 6, and 7. In the playoffs, he was averaging 28, 6, and 6. Dwayne Wade is a playoff riser. The bigger the stakes, the higher the stakes, the better he played. He averaged 4 steals during that run, 2 blocks a game in that run. 4 of the 6 games in the NBA Finals, he was over 30 points. He had 2 games over 40 points. And he averaged 3 offensive rebounds a game. Dwayne Wade was one of the most special players I've ever seen play in the league. 06-07, he was averaging 27, 5, and 8, finished 12th in MVP. In 07-08, he averaged 25, 4, and 7. 08-09, he was 3rd in MVP voting, 35 and 8 for averages. And in 09-10, he was 5th in MVP voting, 27, 5, and 6 for averages. He was a scoring champion in 2009. One of the most unique defensive guards I've ever seen. A shot-blocking guard who averaged steals. I don't even know what to say. He has finals averages for a career of 25, 7, and 5. Averaging 2 steals and a block and a half in the finals. 13-time NBA All-Star. 2-time All-NBA first team. 2009 and 10. 3-time All-NBA second team. 05, 6, and 11. 3-time All-NBA third team, 07, 12, and 13. He was All-NBA defensive second team in 05, 9, and 10. Okay, so we're done with Dwayne Wade. He's got the credentials of one of the most elite Hall of Fame talents the game has ever seen. That is established. That is not to be questioned. So now, a big three would mean LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh is a top 75 player all time. For a career 23, 11, and 2. He is an 11 all-time All-Star. From 2006 to 2016, he played in every single All-Star game. 30 or 35 players have done that in the history of the league. 80% free throw. He averaged 2 offensive rebounds a game for his career. He averaged a steal and a block for his career. In 06-07, he was 7th in MVP voting. He was All-NBA second team. In 09-10, he was 12th in MVP voting. The reason why you don't see even more awards and accomplishments for Chris Bosh is because of the era he played in. Look at his competition. Dwight Howard, Yao Ming, Amari Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, Carlos Boozer, Kevin Durant, Melo, LaMarcus Aldridge, Tyson Chandler, Blake Griffin, Paul George, Marc Gasol, DeMarcus Cousins, all the guys that played center and forward in that era. It was loaded. After LeBron left Miami, Chris Bosh was left in Miami by himself, 21-7-2, in his final 2 seasons, where he was forced into early retirement. He retired an All-Star. So like I said, I wasn't going to do too much with all the supplemental pieces because this really was about the big 3. But just supplementally, LeBron had Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Shaq, Dwight Howard, all NBA type defenders, James Posey, Shane Battier, some of the best shooters of all time, Ray Allen, Mike Miller. I mean, just go look at the Cleveland years where you had guys that were shooting 40+% from 3, like Mo Williams, Delonte West, Boobie Gibson. They always do this. When the list of LeBron's teammates is done and he retires, you're going to see the most sickening amount of All-Stars and Hall of Famers, including Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic, AD, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. The list is going to be so long that the things that these guys like Rich Paul say, none of it is going to make any sense. The whole thing is going to just fall apart. They're trying to change history. The big 3 in Miami won 2 finals out of 4. And one of those finals was directly on the hands of LeBron, in which the Heat could have and should have won that series. In fact, they were up in the series. LeBron didn't play well. LeBron actually, for his caliber of player, played in one of the worst NBA Finals performances I've ever seen. I can't speak to all the NBA Finals because I was too young for some of them and whatever, but I never saw anything like that. Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade played just fine. I looked at those games. I watched those games. I rewatched them again, watching old footage and videos. I don't understand why these guys continue to do this and try to lie and insult people. And in fact, as Rich Paul was doing this whole interview, he was like reading from paper. This guy had everything he wanted to say. He couldn't, because these guys know that everything they say falls apart. Why can't we just be honest and evaluate players' play on the floor? Why can't we just be honest and tell it like it is? Why do we have to shit on former teammates because LeBron didn't get it done? Like, how is this not a big 3? And how is it they didn't win more? That's what they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the onus and the responsibility that LeBron would have in the finals loss in 11. If they won it in 12, they won it in 13, they lost in 14. Why can't we just admit that it was underachievement? It's not special to have that much Hall of Fame talent and win 2 out of 4. It's not. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not special. In fact, when I'm looking at the caliber of player that Dwayne Wade was and Chris Bosh and LeBron, for let's be completely transparent here, this is one of the most unique collections of talent we ever saw on the floor at the same time. But they don't want to tell it like it is. They don't want to tell the truth, and they want to lie. And this is why the real fans of the NBA and the people who watched all these games and evaluate their performances, we're not stupid. We're not falling for it. You're not going to get to rewrite history. It sucks to suck, but when you play like shit, it's recorded forever, and you can't change history. just because you don't like it. It's not your ball to take and just go home. This is real life. This is the real world. These games happened. The outcomes are what they are. Man up, accept them, stop lying, and stop crying like a bunch of hoes.